Most videos about blockchain leave you more confused than when you started, throwing out buzzwords like decentralized ledger or trustless system without ever slowing down to explain what those terms actually mean in plain English. They flash complex diagrams, skip foundational steps, and make you feel like you've walked into a lecture halfway through, leaving you frustrated, overwhelmed, and wondering if you're just not smart enough to understand it. The truth is, you're not the problem the way this information has been delivered to you. And today, we're going to fix that once and for all in a way that finally makes it all click. In this video, you won't get surface-level summaries or recycled hype. You're going to learn how blockchain really works, why it matters far beyond cryptocurrency, and how to protect yourself in a space full of misinformation. We're going to walk through everything step by step, using simple examples, real-world applications, and smart visual explanations that finally answer the questions most people are too afraid to ask out loud. Questions like, what exactly is proof of work? Why does blockchain even matter if I'm not into crypto? Or, can someone really steal my money if they get my seed phrase? These are real concerns. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to make sense of blockchain, or like the content jumps straight into the deep end, you are absolutely not alone. By the end of this video, you'll understand blockchain like never before. Not just how it works technically, but how it empowers people, solves real-world problems, and gives control back to individuals like you and me. And when we get to section 4, it's going to flip everything you thought you knew about safety, control, and digital ownership. So get ready, because your understanding is about to change forever. Let's start with the most important question of all. What exactly is a blockchain, and why do so many people struggle to explain it in a way that actually makes sense to regular human beings? Think of blockchain like a giant public notebook that's duplicated across thousands of computers all around the world, where everyone can read what's been written, but no one can secretly erase or change anything after the fact. Whenever someone wants to record a transaction, like sending money or signing a digital agreement, it's like asking to write a new entry in this notebook, and that entry must follow very strict rules to be accepted. But here's where it gets powerful. Instead of trusting one person to manage this notebook, everyone in the network has a copy and they all work together to make sure new entries are accurate, permanent, and verified by the group. Each page in the notebook is called a block, and once a block fills up with information, like payments, timestamps, and digital signatures, it's locked in place and linked to the block that came before it. That linking process is what creates the chain, which is why it's called a blockchain, a growing sequence of data blocks that are mathematically connected, timestamped, and visible to anyone who wants to inspect them. The power of this setup is that it removes the need for middlemen like banks, lawyers, or third-party platforms, because the blockchain itself acts as a secure, automated record of truth that nobody can manipulate in secret. And unlike traditional databases, which can be edited, deleted, or hacked from a single location, a blockchain is distributed and tamper-resistant, which means if someone tries to cheat the system, everyone else will instantly see the difference. This system is what makes blockchain so revolutionary, not just for money, but for trust itself, because it replaces the need to trust people with something even more powerful: transparency, verification, and code that enforces the rules fairly. Now that you understand blockchain is like a public notebook that everyone can see but no one can secretly change, the next big question is, how does the system decide what gets written into that notebook in the first place? Since there's no single person or organization in charge, all the computers on the blockchain network, called nodes, have to agree on what's valid before they accept a new block of information into the chain. This agreement process is known as consensus, and in most early blockchains, like Bitcoin, that consensus is reached using a method called proof of work, which is both brilliant and a bit misunderstood. Here's how it works. Imagine there's a giant digital puzzle that needs to be solved before any new page can be added to the notebook, and thousands of computers around the world are racing to solve that puzzle first. These computers, called miners, don't solve the puzzle by thinking or strategizing. They solve it by using raw processing power to make trillions of guesses until one of them eventually lands on the correct answer. The moment a miner finds the correct solution, they announce it to the rest of the network, and every other computer checks it immediately. If the answer is valid, that miner wins the right to add the next block to the chain. As a reward for doing this work and spending electricity to solve the puzzle, the winning miner earns newly created cryptocurrency plus transaction fees from the users whose data was included in that block. This entire process is what we call proof of work, and it's intentionally designed to be difficult to complete but easy to verify, making it extremely hard for any one person to cheat or manipulate the system without being caught. Because solving the puzzle requires real resources, electricity, time, and expensive hardware, it creates a strong financial disincentive for bad actors to try and rewrite the blockchain dishonestly. And since every new block contains a reference to the one before it, trying to alter any single piece of data would require resolving every puzzle from that point forward, across thousands of machines, faster than the rest of the network can move forward. This is what makes blockchain so secure. It's not that it's unbreakable because of magic, it's because breaking it would be more expensive, more difficult, and less rewarding than just playing by the rules. One of the biggest fears beginners have after hearing how blockchain works is this. What happens if someone controls more than half the network and uses that power to cheat or rewrite history? This concern is known as a 51% attack, and it refers to a theoretical scenario where a single person or group gains over 50% of the total computing power used to maintain the blockchain, giving them temporary control over the consensus process. If this happened, they could block new transactions from being approved, reverse their own previous payments, or double spend their coins, all of which would severely damage the trust in the system if not stopped quickly. And while that sounds terrifying, let's be clear. Pulling off a 51% attack is much easier to imagine than it is to actually accomplish, especially on major networks like Bitcoin or Ethereum, where computing power is globally distributed. To gain majority control, an attacker would need to outpace the combined computing power of millions of machines across hundreds of countries, which would require billions of dollars in equipment and access to enormous amounts of electricity. Even if they somehow succeeded, the damage wouldn't go unnoticed. The rest of the network would immediately detect the manipulation, and users would stop trusting that version of the chain, effectively making it worthless. That's the beauty of decentralization. Even when an attack is technically possible, it's economically irrational, because the attacker would spend an unbelievable amount of money just to destroy a system they also rely on to profit. This is why 51% attacks are far more common on small, lesser-known blockchains, where the total computing power is low, not on the major ones, which are too large and too expensive to be worth attacking. So yes, the 51% attack is real, and yes, it's a risk, but the media often dramatizes it without explaining how difficult it would be to pull off in any practical, sustained, or profitable way. In reality, the threats in blockchain aren't complex attacks or hidden backdoors. They're simple mistakes made by regular users who don't understand how wallets, recovery, or transactions actually work. So instead of worrying about a high-level hacker rewriting the entire network, the thing that puts your money at risk is usually something much more basic, like how you store your password or use your seed phrase. Here's something that surprises most people. The blockchain itself is rarely hacked, but millions of dollars are lost every year because people misunderstand how wallets and security work on a personal level. When you own cryptocurrency, you don't physically hold coins. Instead, you control a unique digital key that proves your ownership of a specific amount recorded on the blockchain's public ledger. That access is controlled by a private key, which is a long, complex password that proves the funds belong to you. And if anyone else gets that key, they can instantly transfer your funds without needing your permission. To make things easier, most wallets create a seed phrase, a set of 12 or 24 random words, which is essentially a human-readable backup of your private key that can restore your access on any device in the world. Lose that phrase and you lose access to your crypto permanently. There's no recovery hotline, no forgot my password link, and no centralized company that can help you reset your wallet if it's gone. Even worse, if someone else gets your seed phrase, whether through a screenshot, cloud backup, phishing site, or fake app, they can immediately drain your wallet, and there's no way to reverse that transaction. Most beginners don't realize how exposed they really are until it's too late. They email the phrase to themselves, store it on Google Drive, or take a photo with their phone, not realizing that hackers target those exact habits. If your computer is compromised, or if your cloud storage gets breached, your seed phrase could be sitting there waiting to be stolen. And once it's used, the theft happens instantly and without warning. That's why experienced users rely on cold wallets, physical hardware devices that store your key completely offline, disconnected from the internet, immune to remote hacking, and protected by PIN codes and recovery backups. For most people, the safest way to protect crypto is to write the seed phrase on paper, store it in a fireproof location, and never type it into a website, cloud, or mobile app unless absolutely necessary and verified. And when sending funds, especially between exchanges like Binance, Qcoin, or OKX, always double-check the destination address, the token, and the network type, because sending to the wrong chain means instant, permanent loss. These mistakes happen every single day, and they're almost always preventable. Not with fancy software, but with slow, careful habits and a clear understanding of what your wallet actually controls. Blockchain puts you in control, but it also means you carry the responsibility for security. And that's what makes education just as important as the technology itself. At this point, you understand how blockchain works. It's a secure, distributed notebook where no one can cheat, where every change is public, and where trust is enforced through code instead of relying on humans or institutions. But now comes the bigger question. Why does any of this actually matter if you're not a crypto investor, a developer, or someone obsessed with digital currency news or financial markets? The truth is, blockchain is about far more than just Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's a foundational shift in how we manage data, verify truth, and build systems that work without middlemen, gatekeepers, or centralized control. Take voting, for example. With blockchain, every vote could be verified on a public ledger, eliminating the possibility of tampering, duplicate entries, or hidden manipulation, all while protecting voter privacy at the same time. In healthcare, medical records could be securely stored on a blockchain, shared instantly with verified doctors, and updated transparently, giving patients full control over who sees their data and when. No more paperwork nightmares or siloed systems. For international payments, blockchain replaces outdated bank transfers that take 3 to 5 days and charge high fees. Instead, money can move across borders in minutes with full transparency, low cost, and no middlemen. Even supply chains benefit. Blockchain can track products from factory to shelf, recording every step so you know where your food, clothes, or electronics really came from and whether they were ethically sourced or faked. It doesn't stop there. Digital identity is being reimagined, allowing people to prove who they are online without giving away sensitive data to companies that track, sell, or lose it. And smart contracts are changing how business deals are made and enforced. A smart contract is a self-executing agreement written in code that runs on the blockchain. It activates automatically when conditions are met, removing the need for lawyers, managers, or third parties to watch over every step. This means less friction, lower costs, and fewer delays in industries like insurance, real estate, supply chains, freelance work, and more. All powered by programmable trust that doesn't require permission or paperwork. In short, blockchain isn't about crypto hype. It's about rebuilding the core systems that touch our lives every day, from the money we use to the data we protect and the transactions we trust. And while the technology is still evolving, its impact is already being felt across banking, logistics, voting systems, media rights, global development, and digital ownership. The question now is, will you be ready when it becomes mainstream? Because the people who understand blockchain early, even just the basics, will have a major advantage as this wave continues to grow, shift, and redefine what's possible in the digital world. Now you finally understand what blockchain really is. Not just the buzzwords or the headlines, but the actual mechanics behind how trust, transparency, and technology come together in one global decentralized system. You've seen how blocks are created, how puzzles secure the network, and how proof of work makes tampering expensive, impractical, and easy to detect for everyone participating in the chain. You now know what a 51% attack is, not just in theory, but how difficult and costly it is to actually pull off, especially on a large and active blockchain like Bitcoin or Ethereum. You've learned that the real danger isn't technical, it's human, and that most people lose crypto not because of hacking, but because of misunderstandings around wallets, passwords, phishing, and seed phrase exposure. And you now see that blockchain isn't just about cryptocurrency. It's about rebuilding the world's systems around digital proof, programmable trust, and ownership you control without relying on institutions that may fail you. So the real question is this: would you rather spend the next few months trying to figure this out alone, following scattered information and guessing your way forward, or follow a structured path that actually makes things clear? If you're serious about learning how to use blockchain confidently, securely, and with real-world purpose, we've created a free training that will walk you through everything step by step. It covers how to choose a wallet, protect your seed phrase, make your first transaction, and avoid the beginner mistakes that cost people their savings, their trust, and their future in this space. You don't need to become a tech expert. And you don't need thousands of dollars to get started. You just need to understand the basics the right way, and we're here to help with that. So click the link in the description to join the free training now. No fluff, no hype, just clarity, safety, and a smarter way to take your first steps with blockchain. What finally clicked for you in this video? Was it the notebook analogy, the way proof of work actually protects your funds, or the truth about how seed phrases can make or break your security? Let me know in the comments. I do read everyone, and your feedback helps us build better content for people who are just starting out and want real answers, not recycled confusion or tech jargon. If this helped you finally understand blockchain, then subscribe now, because we're just getting started. And every video we create is designed to make the complex feel simple and the future feel more within reach. We cover smart wallets, crypto tools, blockchain use cases, and everything in between, and we do it without the hype, without guessing, and without wasting your time on things that don't actually move you forward. Because knowledge isn't just power. In this space, it's protection. And learning the right way now will save you months of mistakes and possibly thousands of dollars in costly errors down the line. You've now got the roadmap, the concepts, the security steps, and the big picture, and all that's left is for you to take the next step and actually use what you've learned. So take action, protect your future, and let's make blockchain something that empowers you, not something you fear or avoid. Click the link to join the free training, and I'll see you on the inside.